Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Walking This Way Impact Wars podcast. I'm your host, Furman Jackson Jr. We're broadcasting once again from the DFW, that's Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. For everybody who wants to know what it is, of course, we're very excited back with you on this Tuesday evening. We know that we broadcast every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday every week. So I appreciate everybody who rocks with me. Appreciate everybody who comes on the show. Extraordinary people who doing extraordinary things. And one of my guests is the founder, CEO of I Am Radio here at the DFW. She's a native of Michigan. Now she resides in the Dallas Fort Worth area. She had the latest event. It's the Arlington Aggie Merchant Match here. And I'm putting stuff together.
No, it's okay.
It's the big event that she had. How often do you do the event? Is it every month or?
Yeah, so it was previously called the Agtown Merchant Mix, and then we rebranded after our last event. So it's now called the Arlington Merchant Mix, and we host the Merchant Mix every other month. So we just had one this past Saturday, hosted by the wonderful Mr. Yu, and then our next one will be November 18th, and we're actually going to do a Men's Day celebration for that event. So we're going to theme it out.
Man, that's awesome. That's what's up. So my guest is Keisha Sanchez. She's no stranger to the podcast. She's been on here before. And I thank her. I reached out to her. Tonight we're talking about team building, right? Team building, building effective team. So I reached out to Keisha. She's glad to accept the invitation. And she's here. So Keisha, go ahead and reintroduce yourself to the audience here on Walking This Way Impact Wars podcast.
Yes, of course. So again, thank you, Furman, for having me on once again. So again, my name is Keisha. I am the host and owner of I Am Radio, as well as the founder and curator of the Arlington Merchant Mix. So for the past 2.5 years, I have just been a boots on the ground host and community advocate, where I have just provided informing exposure and advocacy for local business owners and artists by way of, interviews, live media coverage, advertising and promotion, as well as hosting those community events. So my mission is to connect people with people, people with ideas, and people with opportunities. So that is my main goal, and it's been working out, and we've been having a great time doing it.
And you know what, Keith, that's an awesome thing that you're doing, especially what you're doing within the city, the community, just giving back, helping other individuals yourself who have a desire to do great things, to explore, to get out there, meet people, network, and things of that nature. And I know you had the latest event here in Arlington this past weekend. It's growing as it grows, as it goes. Just talk about how did this all come about with you bringing all these great individuals together on this one common goal to showcase what they're doing.
Yeah, so I mean, just to take it back, so I was actually in an Uber Sunday morning, so right after the event, and someone asked me what I did, and I never go to my job description, like for my
Gotcha.
8 to 5, 9 to 5, whatever you want to call it. So I actually got to explaining, what I Am Radio is, and explained the Arlington Merchant Mix. And he asked the same question. He said, "Where did you get that idea? Like, why are you doing that?" And it made me think back to when I was a little girl. And, my parents were not married. And I don't think I met my father maybe until I was about 5. And so from that time when I met my father, he made sure that, that I went to go visit on the summers or, whenever school was out. And so the thing I respect about him is that when I was with him, it was so even though it was a little bit of time, so small time increments, it was so impactful to my life, because during that time, I mean, back then, I mean, my dad was in the streets. I didn't know why he was always leaving me at Granny's house. And, he would be out and about. And Now I know exactly what he was doing. He was building an empire. He was building a legacy. He had me at community events. He has his own museum, the Black History Mobile 101 Museum. He used to be I believe the VP or something on Iron Fist Records. So I was always in the arts and performances and historical um rooms, and it just amazed me because I've always been amazed just by life, by people, by philosophy. And so I when I met my father, there was just that part of me that connected. Like, I've always felt like this, and I've always had this intrinsic passion. And so over time, as I went through life, and more specifically when my best friend was killed, and then about 6, 7 months later, I lost my grandmother. That really took a big hit, and it was just too close to home. And over time, with grieving, with going into dark spaces, I had to find my way out, and I realized that I had to utilize the time that I have on this earth to really make an impact. I owe that to my late friend. I owe that to my grandmother. I owe that to my children. I owe that to my parents, to really take what is in me and my passion and my faith and really bring people together for a better cause. So much of us are going through so many different things, and we need to create a safe space for people to come together, to be sociable, to be safe, to promote communal activity, and most importantly is to get our business owners and nonprofit organizations in front of new customers. And when I started I Am Radio, that was originally what I was doing just on air. Was My purpose was to share people's stories behind the brand. Yes, it was promoting and advertising, the business owners, products and services. But whenever I brought a business owner onto the show, I just wasn't interested in their business. I made sure I researched them, their business, as well as researched the person, and made sure that I built a story, wrote out questions that would extract that story behind the brand, because everyone starts their business with some type of passion, with some type of vision. And, people buy from who they know, like, and trust. So it's very important as a business owner that I offer a solution and that I'm also approachable and relatable. And I think that really helps us build those consumer business relationships. And so that's where my passion comes from. It's just partly naturally, and number two, experience. I've been managing business operations for 14 years. So I just had an epiphany out on the porch, because I'm always on the porch meditating, and I was like, wow, this is what it means by going to work and making somebody else's dreams come true. And that really hit me today, because I've been in corporate America. I also am now a business owner. And now that I'm in business school, it really has changed my mindset and my mind frame on how I operate and how I show up in my community.
And, and no, that's what's up right there. And I'm just sitting here that you were thinking, as you put these things together, just the work, the sacrifice, the input to be great. Just the up at night, you know what I'm saying, going to bed late, staying up late.
Yes.
I know for this event that was coming up, just imagining the blood, sweat, and tears you was doing, putting in for this event to make it successful. Not taking any shortcuts, but putting in the work. What is your opinion? What would advice you give someone to not take shortcuts, to really go in 1,000% in what they're doing? Because if you take shortcuts, yeah, it may be good, but then you're gonna run into a dead end. So, what advice would you give someone to not take shortcuts?
So I actually saw a reel yesterday or the day before from Rick Ross that I shared on my page. And he said that quick money is not sustainable money. Like, you can make money so many different ways now, right?
Right.
But people that are just throwing money at you, that's not going to be sustainable, right? Um, my advice for anyone, and I preached this at the Merchant Mix, like I did this past Saturday, because I was going through it. It seems like every merchant mix I do, like I'm going through a huge transition, and it really tests, like it's like God saying, like, how bad do you want this? You know what I'm saying? And so I told them, the reminder to walk by faith and not by sight, but that's a spiritual thing. But really in this nitty gritty life, you have to know your why. As a business owner, as a nonprofit organization, as a community leader, like you have to have the grit. You have to have integrity. Integrity doesn't necessarily mean, some people equate that to being perfect and moral stature. Integrity is the mindset to, as a leader, to take everyone's experiences and consequence and everything into consideration. So you as a leader, you're not just making decisions for yourself, you're making decisions with the team, with the community in mind. And so you have to make sure that you're accountable, and that you really have that sense of responsibility. Like when things don't go your way, when your life is in going left and you're trying to pursue your dreams and your goals, what capacity do you have to respond to whatever comes up? And that's where you have to have those key competencies in place. Knowing your why really just helps you. You need to know why you're doing what you're doing. This will help you when you do fall down or feel like you're getting off track or you feel discouraged. Because if you're just out here to make money and it's your idea, you know how much work it is to get the public to get the buy-in on your idea. So not
Right.
everyone's going to buy it at first. So it takes a lot of courage to get up every day and say, hey, I believe in me. I believe in this vision. I know I'm trying to serve. So you need to have a service mindset. And you also, know your why. That way, whenever you feel discouraged, that you know why you're doing this. And it can't just be because of the money, because when that money don't come in and this is not your passion, there's no reason why you wouldn't give it up.
That's it.
Why would you keep doing it? So when you are very clear and concise about who you are and what it is that you're trying to do to service another person, to service your community, that should be the foundation of why you keep going.
And that's what's up right there. Before we get further into it, Keisha, on tonight's topic on teamwork makes the dream work, you did send me a clip of this past weekend. I want to show the viewer audience what they missed out on. So after that, we're gonna show the clip, and after that, we're gonna jump right back into our discussion night on team building. So if you're interested in team building, I encourage everybody to tune in, ask questions. I do have questions on hand, of course. So ask questions, put them in the comment section. It's time to grow, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to evolve, right? Because it's already September 19th. We're in the ninth month, right? 2023. We ain't got that long, ladies and gentlemen. We got to better take it to the next level. So after this clip, we'll jump right back into our topic of discussion.
And it goes like this. We'll get in your car and you'll leave the kiss. You'll turn the out light on the backseat. And in my bed tonight when everything changes, you and I will go back to strangers.
What's up, everybody? We're back here. That was a clip from this past weekend. Can you just take us through that time, that day, the enjoyment, people having a good time, people just really enjoying themselves. They letting their hair down. They just being themselves. So take us through that whole entire day and the outcome that you was expecting for that day.
Yeah, so like I said at first, I wasn't discouraged about the event. I was really just being tried in my personal life. So, I always just say that, I always say a prayer before I go in, like, Lord, because I put so much work into this, to have an idea and to try to bring that into the 3D dimension, I mean, it takes a lot, especially for one person. And so I just said a prayer like, Lord, have your way. Like, I know I'm not doing this for no reason, so I'm just going to show up. But I also had to be very vulnerable and transparent. I was like, should I just share what I'm going through? And I did. And the reason being, one thing that stuck out to me throughout that whole event, people, we go around and we hug each other like, hey, girl, haven't seen you, or hey, I'm so proud of you, keep going. But one thing I noticed, and shout out to Mr. U, I believe he's watching. He actually hosted the event for me. So usually I'm curating the event, I'm putting everything together, and I'm hosting it. And I'm trying to do the photography and videography. So delegating that job over to the amazing Mr. U really allowed me to take a step back, hang out with the attendees, get their feedback, check on my vendors, and also pay attention to what was the essence of the event. And one thing that really stuck out to me was that when people went to go hug, not just me, but other attendees, when they would greet each other with a hug, they'd be like, ooh, I needed that. Ooh, give me another hug. So many people needed that physical touch, which really reaffirmed for me the mission and purpose for the Merchant Mix. It is to promote sociability and communal activity. We are human beings that have a need to commune, have a need to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. And so that community event allows people to show up as their best selves, show up with whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish. There's other people there ready to support you. And so it was just a beautiful thing to have our people together. This is our 17th or 18th Arlington Merchant Mix. And so just to see it over and over again, each event is different, but just to see it over and over again, our people showing up, our people coming together for the greater good, I mean, that is honorable. And that's something that we're going to continue to, expound on, going through that day. People, just letting their hair down, even me, because I didn't have to host. I mean, I got to dance around. I got to hang out with friends. I had family that came in. The kids were running around playing cornhole in the back or dancing on the stage with me. My daughter, Naima, I mean, I just have to give a shout out to my daughter, Naima Divine. She is my sidekick. She's with me at most of the events, and she just knows what to do. She greets people at the door. When mommy is on stage, I can look over to her and she's got the camera recording, and that's what we need. We need our kids in the room. They might not understand, but just like me when I was a little girl and I didn't understand what my dad was doing, here I am at 33 years old. And people see what I'm doing. That's how much of an impact that you don't understand that has. And our children are the highest, most refurbished versions of us. And so they need to be cultivated and they need to be guided into these rooms. That way it ticks in their mind, because they are so pure, they're so creative. They want more than what we wanted when we were their age. The way that Naima talks, I'm like, where do you get this from? And so it was beautiful seeing the kids there. It was beautiful seeing everyone support each other. We were just having a good time. And I just can't thank the community enough for the continuous support. We're really working to expand and to scale. And, now, thank God to Mr. U, we'll be collaborating to really expand on that experience that we've seen at the Merchant Mix this Saturday, because it's very important. It's so important that we get together for good and that we give back. We have to give back.
Yeah,
The
that's
law
right
of
there.
reciprocity, just doing good, it has to come back to you. So when you show up and say, you know what, I'm going to go support, even if you just show face. I have people that come that might not be able to afford to do certain things there, but they show up and we love on them. We hang out, we have a good time, we laugh, we talk about life, we talk about business ideas, whatever people need. That is a safe space for us to just hash it out and have a good time. And so, we got to recognize two nonprofit organizations on Saturday. So
Okay.
first, I want to give a shout out to Miss Shantae Graham. She was one of our guest speakers, and she shared with us, the importance of self-love and following your passion and the importance of mentorship. She is the founder of Serenity Mentoring, and she actually mentors young girls between the ages of 7 and 21. So she has been a dear friend and a dear business sister since I met her. We just met earlier this year at Jasmine Evans. Shout out to Kenzie Shades. Let's Chat brunch that I was a guest speaker at. So, that's the power of networking. Show up because you just never know what's there. So Jasmine giving me an opportunity on her platform gave me the opportunity to give Shantae a platform to come speak, and then we also had Miss Mary J. Harper, who is the founder of Pay It Forward Project. So she does amazing work. She helps out with the homeless community. She hosts community events, and she's just a lovely, lovely lady. And I'm just so blessed to be able to recognize these organizations because sometimes they're overlooked. And and the owner of Cherry Moon Grill and Bar, Miss Star Williams, she kind of alluded to that this past weekend. And so that is why we do this, to make sure that we're recognizing who is doing the groundwork in our immediate communities. And so with us honoring them, with us having fun, Mr. U was on the ones and twos. It was just a good time. Everyone left fulfilled, feeling full, high energy. I mean, we were high on life. I had people calling me for days after and just said, I'm just high. I'm just naturally high. And that's what happens when we show up for things that are bigger than us. And we all have something to bring to the table, even if it's just a smile or even a hug.
Yeah, hey, and that's what it's all about. Just coming together, the networking, building healthy relationships, motivating each other, inspiring one another to the greater good, and that's what it's all about. Like I said, we're talking about team building tonight. I got some questions too. So for
Yeah.
those that's tuning in with us, if you have any comments, if you have any questions, put them in the comment section. We look here from you. We want to grow, right? We want to grow. We want to expand. Really do more some educational stuff here on the show. Even though we do a lot of Q&A with a lot of great guests, I just want to implement some educational tools that really help us out and have an expert on here, Keisha herself, with this. So I'm gonna throw a wild card question out here too.
Okay.
Let's say someone come to you and say, what would you say to a person who say, I want to help along with I want to help what you got going on, but I have my own vision as well. How would you respond to that?
So that's happened, before. And so what I would do in that aspect is I would listen. I would make sure, number one, we can both have different visions. I believe, and we're going to talk about this, two heads are better than one. So sometimes it needs to align exactly with what you're doing. But sometimes, what you're doing can be expanded by someone else's vision as well. So, you know, TD Jakes, I actually sent it to some friends and business owners this morning. I was listening to a TD Jakes morning motivational speech, and it's collaboration over competition. And another great thing that he said is you don't want to have too many people around you that are doing the same thing that you're doing. Reason
Right.
being, they start becoming your competition. So you need people that are doing other things, that are well versed in other areas. That way you can help them with what they need help with. They can help you with what you need help with. And now look, both of y'all's visions are aligned in some ways, but are able to actually cultivate and catapult each other in your own in your own wills and ways. So, I have people reach out all the time, and I've actually given people the positions to do certain things. What it is just people don't understand what actually goes on behind scenes, and they don't have the drive and the consistency to keep it going. But I've given people, my platform. I've given people, ways to make money with what I got going on. And, I think I actually finally have someone that has his own vision, has his own drive, but we definitely align in multiple ways to where, we can hold true and hold fast to what we're trying to do individually, but as a collaborative, we are able to really expand and scale in our own right.
Yeah, the most important knowing is having an open communication in the
Hmm.
beginning instead of not saying anything, and then you go along through this time period, and the individual mentions something out of the blue about it. You would save a whole bunch of time and trouble if we talk about this stuff in the beginning, so we know where we at, where we both at, so it won't be no conflict of interest per
Right.
se. Won't be no bad falling out because interviews have filled out before where nobody said anything because may come across individuals who say, "Well, I work with this person. They took everything from me. They blocked me from everything, and they're doing what I'm doing." Have you ever had that? Have anybody brought that up to you before, Keisha, as well?
Yes. A couple times. And so I say this with grace. Um, my first incident was actually kind of how I got into, not how I got into it, but, the first time I found out about a pop up shop, I was actually doing photography, product photography for it. And I still call her a dear friend, and I'm going to call her my sister. I mean, I've known her since she was a little girl. And, she hired me to be her product photographer. So I did that. And it was at a pop up shop during the pandemic. Now, this pop up shop was literally you just walk in and shop. And so I was like, oh, wow. But I used to do club promotions. Everyone used to come out for Keisha night, which is a whole other story. But I was already very well known in the club, restaurant, lounge market and industry in Arlington. So during that time, I was like, well, we can't go to the club. We can't do this. We can't do that. But what I can do is use everything that I know to put a mix on it and stir it up, and let's just bring everyone together. So we're not just going to have a pop-up shop. I don't want to have just a pop-up shop. I want to bring in artists. I want to bring in guest speakers. We need to focus on exposure, informing, and advocacy. So I was just able to use my own gifts to be able to cultivate this event. And so from that, the person who I used to do her product photography for, she ended up starting to be a vendor at my event. And then from there, she actually started her own event. And it was called, I'm not going to say what it was called because then people are going to know. And you know what? It was a conflict of interest because she kind of used my name, I am, but something else at the end. And so I had no problem with it, didn't say anything about it. And I actually sponsored her first event. I
Okay.
sponsored it for her. I went out there with the DJ, with Como, and we went out there and we did that thing. But when her next event came up, I knew we had our event in the same month. And so I am a businesswoman and I have integrity. And I also know that I'm good at what I do. I know the response from the community. And so, out of integrity, I asked my business partner at the time, I said, hey, do not post our flyer for the merch and mix right now because I'm trying to help her get vendors. I want to make sure people that show up for her because her
I like
event
it.
is first. Now, she didn't know I had that conversation, and I don't think I had to tell anyone. I just acted like that because that's who I am. Well, the flyer got leaked. My flyer got leaked, and all of a sudden I was blocked.
Oh wow.
And, I just let it be. Unfortunately, there was some conflict of interest because the event that some people booked for was not so great. So from there, I had a little bit of trouble of bookings because people kept equating I am with I am and
Right.
thinking that we were one and the same, and we weren't. And so, there was that conflict, but pushed past it, just kept treading, Um, and then one other time earlier this year, I had someone that wanted a partner, and I agreed to it. I'm like, why not? She seemed like a professional lady. She had a great idea to do speed networking. And no, that wasn't my idea for speed networking, but what
Right.
Keisha does and what everyone knows Keisha for is networking guru. So, we put together a speed networking event. But again, once I put certain people into those positions, they're nowhere to be found. It takes work to put these things on. It takes a blueprint. It takes, you showing up, and not just the day of. Like, what about the promotions? What about the advertising? What about the vendor relationships and the vendor management? There's so many things. But I never said anything. I just let it be, and I kept the event going. And you know what? That person showed up the day of. I didn't say nothing nasty, but who put that event on? Who made it happen? The sweat, blood, and let me say tears, because I was going through one of the most traumatic experiences in my life back in January, and no one knew. So that person just didn't understand what it really takes and what sets me apart from 99% of these people trying to do the same thing, And so I kept it going. Now, I don't do the networking things all the time. My baby is Arlington Merchant Mix.
Right.
But I did say we need to do that. The networking event is a little bit different. It's not a vendor event, and it's not a community event. It is for business owners only, for us to get together and really know each other and build a professional relationship. So I'm not going to do that every month because I'm doing other stuff. But I said we need to have a mid-year check-in. And so I brought back the speed networking. Why not? And I was reached out to, and basically underminingly accused of taking an idea or for not checking with them first. And I had to be very clear and concise of what happened the first time around. And number two, let me be clear and concise that I don't have to take an idea from not a person on this world. I have a God-given mind, a God-given imagination, a God-given work ethic. And, I remind you, when I just told you all those scenarios, I never stuck up for myself. I always just let people like, okay, no, okay. So that was like one of my first times where I was like, no. Like, you will not do that to me. And, she apologized and, asked if she could collaborate. And I said, well, do you want to collaborate? Do you want to be part of the networking event? She said, yes, but let me check with my schedule. Well, first of all, you shouldn't have had anything to say if you didn't know your schedule wasn't clear. You cannot, and why are you reaching out days after the event when you see, everyone sees my flyers? Well, I didn't see it on your page. I see you watching my stories. Everyone knows what's going on. Everyone knows what's going on. Even if they don't react or comment or whatever, they see what Keisha's doing. And so, I just had to stick up for myself in that situation, because how dare you?
Yeah.
I've been doing it on my own for 2.5 years. I haven't had any help. And I always wish that I did have help. I just didn't have the trust in certain things, because it has to go a certain way. I mean, because at the end of the day, people are not going to care about you and what you do. Let something really go wrong with I Am Radio in the mix, or Arlington Merchant Mix in the mix, they're going to call Keisha. It's Keisha's name that is going to go down in the mud. So I have to be very careful. And that's not just with collaborations. One thing I kind of hate is that I have to keep like my personal brand. I am my brand. So there's a lot of things I have to now be careful of, because I am a public figure. And so there's certain things I can't post or do, or, I'm pretty calmed down now, but, just I've had to really self-develop in certain areas to make sure that whatever I'm doing in the public life or in my personal life reflects what I'm doing in my public life. And that takes a lot of accountability and a lot of responsibility. But when you have other people looking up to you, you
True.
have to hold yourself to a higher standard. And, you know, anybody that wants to, jump in and help, I am an open book. We need the help, but you just got to make sure that you know the real reason why you even want to do it.
You got to know that. And it's like on this journey, on this road that we're all on, being out in the public, of course, we know we have a certain standard about ourselves that we do gotta protect. We do gotta protect our name, right? You just mentioned that. Because the wolves are out there, ladies and gentlemen. The snakes are out there. Don't no, that's not. I pretend they're not out there. They're out there, and they're looking
Yeah.
for any little thing to run with it, and try to scrutinize you. But most important thing is being careful, being mindful, have the spirit of discernment, because there are sheeps in wolves' clothing. And, the scripture lets us know that. So always be mindful. Go ahead. I know you want to say. Go ahead.
Well,
Keisha.
one thing I've learned, and we have to stop. I'm a personable person, and I just be like, okay, yeah, like come on. But when it comes to business, you have to be assertive and you have to protect your interests. You have to protect your intellectual property. Okay.
Right.
So when
True.
you are doing business, maybe not for a general meetup, but when you're going into business and people want to partner with you, usually it's because what they see on the outside, it looks good, but they don't know what it takes to build this. And you don't know what makes this ship sail. So if I give you all of my gems, they could circumvent you and run off with your ideas and with your strategies and with what you built to go build their own thing. And they can put their own spin on it and be successful because we're all human. We can analyze anything and put a flip on it and make it go, right? Because all of us have our specific gifts. But what you do is you have to start entering into contracts. Enter into contracts, make sure that you're make sure that you're protecting yourself. And also where that helps you is that if things don't go right, that you are protected as well. You want to make sure that all parties involved are have some sense of integrity and that their security interests are protected. And you would think I would have did that a lot earlier, but I didn't realize like really what the response would be. And like I'm still kind of surprised and just kind of taken back by what is going on with all this stuff. I'm like, oh wow. But also, I've been doing bankruptcy law for 7 years. So you would think that I would already have these things in place. But
Right.
no, it was going through those weird situations where it's like I'm bringing friends in to put them on, and it's like, no, like people will your friends will become your foes over some stuff. And so, I just keep everything, I'm cool. Yes, I can provide opportunities, but I'm not going to let you take what it has taken me blood, sweat, and tears to build. So you just got to have certain legalities in place to protect yourself.
And you got to. Before that, we're going to a commercial right quick. And after the commercial, we'll jump right back into our conversation here on Walking His Ways, Impact Boys Podcast.
Hey, girl, you looking good, shorty. Hey, let me get that number, man. You feeling me, You sure? Come on, man. You good? Have a good day. Have a good day. What? I can. Oh. Damn. Hey, man, tell me what happened right there, man. I guess my ribs ain't up, man. Don't worry about it, bro. They used to do it to me all the time, man. But I got a little something for you, man. Just a little vitamin P, man. Change your life, man. Take a few of those, man, and see how it changes. Okay. We're going to see. I got that vitamin C. Yeah.
Hey, what's up, everybody? We're back here on Walking This Way, Impact Wars Podcast. I'm your host, Furman Jackson Jr. Along with me in the studio is the I Am Radio founder, CEO, Keisha Sanchez. Thank you, my dear friend, for being on here with me once again. You're no stranger here to the platform. And I know we're going to talk about this team building. I know we're talking about a lot of great stuff, but we're going to talk to this team building. So my question is, how do you bring a team together?
Yeah, so I want to go back. So Mr. Yu is watching, and this will tie into what he just and what he just posted, or the question he just asked. Let me see. He said, how did you overcome trust issues going into partnerships and team development? And then to answer your question, you have to be clear. Just if you have the vision, it's just like being the owner of the company, right? You have to treat your vision as your company, as your business. No business owner is just going to go hire friends that they know just because they know them and try to give them an opportunity. That business owner and entrepreneur, their main goal is to make a profit. That is what the ultimate goal of business is, right? So in order to do that, you have to make sure that you have the people in place that are well versed and have certain skill sets to holistically and logistically drive performance to bring about the success of your objectives. So it's not so much, do I trust you as a person? Yes, that needs to happen. That's why companies do background checks. There has to be a certain caliber and trust, even they don't know the person yet, because we hire people all the time based off the resume and the interview. And then you find out later on, like, okay, you are not the same person that I interviewed, or your work ethic just completely sucks, right? You can't say it like that, but we think that. And so even after collaborating or partnering, you also have to have certain policies and procedures in place, certain clauses in place to say, hey, if this is not working, if you're not producing, if this is not a productive relationship or partnership, then we have to sever ways. And so I think part of building trust is, number one, I had to be more careful with who I have around me. And that is just not in my business, that's personally, right? So you have to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people that are not just where you're at, but that fit the vision of where you're going. Okay. And so when you think about where you're trying to go and where you're trying to accomplish, when you're trying to build a team, those teammates have to have that skill set, have to have that work ethic, have to have that motivation, that intrinsic motivation, right? To be able to get up every day, put the boots on the ground, and really know and be able to identify what the areas of opportunity are, and have the skill set to bring the solution to drive those results. And so I think for me, I just had to be more cognizant and aware and picky, do my research with the people that I just bring in, to make sure, number one, do you have your own stuff going on? And this is for personal, even intimate relations too. I mean, we need to start really looking at those relationships as business transactions. I mean, if we really took some of our business knowledge and applied it in real life, I think we'd have it be better off. But we need to make sure that they meet a certain criteria to be able to handle your key performance and your KPIs. Are they able to manage, maintain, audit, fix any errors, or mitigate any risks with whatever it is that you're trying to do? So that can be a lot of different people. That could be a marketing and advertising person. You can hire someone that is well-versed in QuickBooks to keep up with your financials. You might not be comfortable with public speaking or, networking. You might need to have a PR team. I mean, there's a lot of different things. You need to write out exactly what your business is, what it takes to operate your business. What departments do you need? Do you have any legal or compliance requirements that you have to meet or stay regulated with within your county or state. You need to make sure that you have an attorney or have someone that is well versed in that area to make sure that you are compliant within your state, uh, within your city, state, and federal, guidelines. And so part of team building is just knowing that you have the right people in place to make the dream work. Teamwork makes the dream work.
You're right, that's right. And you brought interesting point on the jobs. They just don't say they're not gonna say, well, we're gonna start you today. They're gonna interview you, sit you down for a little while and ask you questions. And then what they do, they go back for a second interview to make sure they're still talking to the same individual they talked to the first time. So I kind of understand that now why they had the interview process, the
Mhm.
background process. They have with the contacts. They always tell you put
Yeah,
down people close to
references.
their rep. They call these different individuals that are close to you. They ask questions before we hire this person. Is this person capable of this? Is the person capable of that? And 9 times out of 10 is all about being honest. So I totally understand that business aspect before bringing anyone on. You mentioned something about, I'm just bringing this person on because they're my friend or whatever the case may be, but putting them through the process because at the end of the day, this is your business, this is your brand, this is your baby, right? So
Yeah.
you will protect this thing at all costs. Yeah, I'm gonna fight for it. I'm gonna fight for it. And I have to shed blood for it. I'm gonna shed blood for it. I'm just being honest here because at the end of
Hmm.
the day, you're protecting yourself, and you
Right.
just don't want to put anybody and everybody there. And also, you gotta remember, you got soothsayers out there too. You got people who sound good and they say the right things, but their motives are wrong. As you
Right.
being a business owner, how do you discern that, Keisha? Because you have soothsayers out there. They say the right thing, they influence with it, but then their motives are wrong. How can you help someone with that who may be going through that or who may experience it down the road?
Yeah. So you have to do your research. You know what I'm saying? Depending on what your business is, you need to check out their profile. You need to see, what their work ethic is. You need to see what I also watch how they treat other people, because if they're talking to me and they want to be on my team or whatever, they're going to act a certain way with me. But how do you treat other people? And I also pay attention to how the public eye and other people within this industry responds to that person. So it's very important that you do your research, and we need to stop making it so hard. um, your actions should align. If you say that you
Mm-hmm.
do X, Y, and Z, I should be able to see that. If you, one thing about me personally, I'm a very private person.
Mm-hmm.
Even though people see me publicly, that's just one side of me. I'm a very, I've learned I'm introverted as well. I'm a mother hen when I'm at home, and I do not deal with drama most of the time, unless it's like my teenage girl. So I had to like be very, uh, that's my drama.
Right.
But if I see that you're engaging in certain things, if you talk a certain way on social media, I'll even check a couple, references, if I see that we know the same people, I'll call that other person and just get a quick reference, get some quick feedback. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't feel right to me, I just we have to trust our instincts. I
Right.
trust what I see. I trust what I analyze. I trust how I feel. And so I really just I don't make quick decisions. I really look at what's going on, and on top of those other things that I just explained, and that will kind of help me make those decisions. Um, but at the end of the day, you just, if you know what you're doing, let me say this. I have a lot of experience. I've only had I am radio and the merchant mix for a couple years. I have a lot of experience managing operations, interviewing, building teams, training and facilitating. I used to work, my degree is in criminal justice. I am trained to peep out some shit. Okay, excuse my
Mhm.
language. But
You good?
I wear many hats, so I'm very trained in very different many different things. And so um these type of things are not too hard for me, but I work with a lot of business owners, and some of the people that I work with, they really do struggle with that. And so, the good thing would to be is to do an interview process. Learn how to interview, watch a YouTube on it, read an article, anything that you don't know how to do, or anything that you're trying to develop or scale your business in, read about it. That's
Right.
what made me successful. I'm just now going to business school, and I've been in business almost 3 years. You have to read. What do you do to self-educate? If you know that you're failing or not operating in a certain area in your business, what are you doing to self-educate? How are you investing in your education to make sure you are up to par with what you need to do? And so you just have to be self-accountable, and it starts with just being educated. And because if we're ignorant or we go into this stuff blind, it can have, a very a negative impact, very much so.
Yeah, most definitely. And just taking the time out, educating yourself, investing in yourself to make this thing greater than what it can be. And you know it will be, taking it to the next level. And that's what it's all about. I know we're talking about team building here tonight. And we know it takes a great group of people to make a thing work right. It takes the right people to make a thing work. Just like if you played sports growing up, they didn't actually put you on the team. You had to try out for the team.
Right.
And if you was capable, if you was good enough, they put you on the team. If you was not good enough, they'll cut you. And it was nothing personal.
Right.
Nothing personal. It's just all about business. Is at the end of the day, it's all about can you help us win?
Can you
That's
help
what it's all
us
about.
win? And one thing I want to say about teams is that you always keep it a we thing. If someone comes to me and they're just always talking about what they want to do, they just want to be a
Right.
part of this because of what they want to do. Or when there's a conflict, do you know how to communicate conflict? You can't go into a team meeting or a team huddle or a one-on-one saying, "Oh, you did this." No, you have to say, "Okay, what can we do to make X, Y, and Z better?" You don't ever, one thing I love, and I'm not going to say his name, but he's one of my dear mentors and a business owner in Arlington, Texas, and he is a millionaire, and he's helped me build a lot of this stuff as well. And one thing I always respected him about when he would talk about his business is when he was talking about, we would just have long talks every day, whether it was riding in the car, sitting on the porch, we just do simple stuff. And he'd be like, when he would talk about his money with his business or the expenses, like, hey, we got to do this, we got to do that.
Mm.
It was always a we thing, but I learned that as I was managing and leading, teams, in corporate America. And so it has to be a we thing. Team, there's no I in team, there's no me in team. And it has to be a we thing. You have to keep it group and globally, keep it a global perspective when it's never about you. And so when the team wins, the team wins. If the team fails, the team fails. And so with that being said, is if you fail at something, it's going to take the collaboration of the team to get back on track. And people have to understand that.
And most definitely. And then my next question is, what is a key step in teamwork? I know you might have mentioned earlier, but for those, elaborate again. So, what is a key step in teamwork?
The key steps in teamwork is number one, us knowing what our mission and values are. Everyone needs to know what their role is. And as a manager or as a leader, it is your job to identify each individual's strengths and weaknesses to make sure that you put them in the appropriate roles to where they can optimize and maximize their talents. If you put someone in a position that is not well versed or educated in that area, I mean, it just sets you up for failure. So that leader, that manager should be, just should have that eye to be able to place people where they need to be to maximize the output and productivity of the team. Another big part of team building is getting the buy-in from your team. You need to make sure that you know your team's personality. You need to know what makes your team tick. What is their intrinsic and extrinsic values? The reason why you need to know what motivates them is when they do feel discouraged, you just, as a leader, you're just not motivating the team. They don't always see the bigger picture, the business scope. You have to deal with the day-to-day operations, and they are your bottom line. So I've learned as a leader that you're not just the manager, you're also like counselor. I mean, you get the front end of everything. And so you have to be very self-aware. You have to be approachable, and you need to be able to kind of get down on their level and be empathetic and, see what is going on with them. Because the more that you can build that team member up, the more that, and that they're good at what they're doing, it's just life is life in, you need to be able to build them back up. You also need to be able to identify your high performers. That way you can use them for delegation. You, as a leader, you don't want to be doing everything on your own. As an entrepreneur, you are not producing at your optimal capacity when you're doing it all your own. Number one, you don't know everything, so you need to outsource. Number two, you need time for yourself. So as an effective leader, you need to identify people's strengths and also your high performers. That way you could delegate some things to them that you trust, and also develop them. That way they could someday take your spot so you can move on to something bigger and better. I always say that I never felt comfortable as a leader unless I was able to coach someone and develop someone and they felt comfortable enough to do a teach back. That's how I knew I was being effective in my leadership style.
And that's was I pulled up something as you were talking, made me think about what Elon Musk had did some years back when he had got Twitter, and I just pulled this up. It said Elon Musk is the ultimatum to Twitter's employees Wednesday morning: commit to a new hardcore, Twitter or leave to come with severance pay. Twitter is shifting it with blah blah blah. I'm going down to what he said. This means working long hours at high intensity. He said on expectation perform will constitute a passing grade. By wings of the Twitter trust and safety team who are responsible for keeping hate speech and misinformation off the site, were discussing a mass resignation. In other words, when getting to the point of what Elon Musk was doing, everybody that was employed at Twitter, he gave them opportunity. Whether if they didn't pan out, if they didn't want to stay, he gave them severance pay. But for everybody who wanted to stay, they had to commit to long hours, this and that, in order to get to where it needed to be at. And let me think about what you was talking about. And I got out of it is with the strips that the wheat and tear grow together, and then we know that there's a separation. So that made me might think about that article, Keisha, how we let the wheat and tear grow together. Because after a while, the work will start weeding out the individuals.
It will, definitely.
And that made me think about that when you were just talking. It just made me think about that. And it's like, okay, this corporation, your corporation, whatever business you're doing, you want to weed out the wheat and the tares. You want to put it out there in the atmosphere. Hey, this is where I'm going. This is what it's all about. This is where the company is going. This is where we're headed at. Now, I'm there to give you opportunity. If you do not want to be here, hey, let bygones be bygones. We'll go our separate ways. How would you handle that situation, Keisha, if you present this where the organization going, but then someone come tell you, well, this is not where I want to be at? How would you handle? I know some individuals, they get butthurt, they get offended when someone does not want to be along with the ride. So how, as a business person yourself, how can a person handle that without being upset, getting their feelings because somebody does not want to go along with the organization that's going to a whole nother direction?
Well, I'm going to speak to this like from a business owner perspective. So let's say, well, number one, it's Elon Musk. I mean, this is a true high level business owner. His thinking is global, right? And
Right.
so what he's doing is making an executive decision. There's a lot of different types of decisions that you will make as a business owner. So some of these four types, like you can make an executive decision, which is just you. It's kind of like a authoritative decision where only you are making that decision. You can also make a delegative decision where you kind of trust someone else to make that decision for you with your oversight. You also have collaborative decision making where you get the input from the team, from the departments, from your bottom line to see where to go. And then you also have like the dictatorship decision making where you kind of like cast votes. And the reason why I'm speaking like this is because Elon is at the top. And so he's making an executive decision. And I actually spoke about this in my leadership training the other day, is that some people
Okay.
don't understand why certain decisions are made within business. And so when they asked, we had different scenarios that we had to read and ask, did this leader use the right decision style, decision model to make this decision? In my business that I manage for another company, I'm on the legal side of things. So I look at things very differently, probably a little bit more black and white and assertively. So when I have to make certain decisions, people do not understand, especially the bottom line. They don't have the skill set and the global mindset to understand why we have to make certain changes and how it may impact them, right? And
Right.
when we're going in and making these decisions, we're looking at all the risks. We're looking at what the possible response is. But sometimes you have to make drastic decisions, urgent decisions, to make sure that you kind of skim off the fat, and that way you can accelerate and get to where you need to be. And sometimes that's going to be at the cost of losing some people, and that's in your personal life, that's in your business life. So if someone said that they didn't want to go along on my ride, guess what? Like Elon Musk, I am tunnel vision, baby. I'm tunnel vision. But also, Elon is making that, he's in a different bracket. I mean, he's up there. So he's making that decision for whatever reason, but I bet you that it's for him and where he's trying to go. He sees his financials. He sees the risk. He knows he knows the projections of where he wants to be. I mean, a lot of us are looking at our month-to-month financial statements and month-to-month goals. Those big corporations, they have 5-10 year plans. They're doing projection analytics consistently. And so with that, they're looking at, salaries. They're looking at sizes of departments. Some departments have to reorganize and group together. Some departments, they're splitting apart. Whatever makes sense to make that department and that team more effective and more efficient at the least cost possible. That's what business is all about. That is what teamwork is all about. And I've been in a situation where a business had to make a decision to downsize, and 2 times I've been part of that. And thank God, they wanted to keep me, but they were also offering severance pays. Well, the first one wasn't, but I decided to stay. But the second company that did that kind of out of the blue, they're like, hey, you can either go work in Arizona or some of our other centers, or you can just take this, few $1,000s. And, I took that few $1,000s and I went and got another job. I think we spend too much time talking about things that are just shock value, like, oh my God, Elon Musk is doing this, but really on a personal, individual perspective, there's so many opportunities out here. Go get another job.
You're right. That's right.
I'm not saying that to be insensitive, right? I'm just saying that there's other opportunities and people have the right and choice to go do whatever they want to do. And we also have to understand that we live in the day and time where people are making those choices, especially these millennials. If they don't like how their manager is, if they don't like their schedule, if that job is stressing them out, they don't take none of that ish. They leave and be like, I'm going to go find somewhere else. Mental health awareness is very, very much so at the forefront of these corporations. Employee engagement is at the forefront of these corporations now because these corporations are being monitored and guided by different things now. They understand that people speak up and people have to feel included and safe and productive at work. And if they don't, you're going to get a bad review. Companies send out emails quarterly, monthly to their employees to make sure what? Do you like being at work? What is it that we can make, what is it that we can do better? And, you as a business owner, do that for your customers. Do some quality control, some quality assurance. Ask people what they think that you're doing, or how do they feel that you're doing. If you have employees, make sure that you have a culture team building segment, in your trainings, in your one-on-ones and your huddles. Make sure that you're building an all-inclusive individual oriented team. And that is what's going to make you successful, by getting the buy-in of those that are supporting your vision and making sure that they have the tools and resources to be successful.
And that's right. And I'm asking this, Keisha, are individuals ready to receive the feedback? When I say that, I hear a lot of times individuals say, I accept all input. But are they really ready for that? Because I know people will get offended. They ask for other people's feedback, and if somebody give them feedback, they take it the wrong way and they get into their feelings. Are individuals ready for that yet? Are they putting themselves in a position to receive the help when it comes to tighten up in certain areas? And I see you do this thing this way, or I see you do it better this way. It's not to harm you, but to help you. And I know individuals could take that the wrong way, or thinking they're trying to put them down some type of way. Because some people be thinking weird, like, and they take it the wrong way.
Yeah, and that depends on the individual, because people have triggers. And so I go this deep with stuff because that's just what I'm trained to do. And we talk about it all the time in my leadership trainings, is that you have to go that deep with your employees. Everyone is different. And so what if you have an employee who's a good employee, but they're struggling with a certain metric, right? And so you want to do a coaching session or a one-on-one, and they have a fear of rejection. That's their core belief, And so you go in there, and you as a leader, you're just trying to coach and develop them, but they take it as criticism, like they're doing something bad, like they're doing something wrong, and they huff and puff and be like, well,
I see that all the time.
I just don't know. Or they get defensive and be like, no, I do this, and that. I actually had a business partner, right? Let me go here. I had a business partner that I worked with for maybe about a year or so, and almost 2 years. And that person, even though we were business partners in one aspect, they had their own business. And me and other people they would ask for feedback too. And me and other people would give our 2 cents. And every time we gave our 2 cents, it'd be like, oh, no, I tried that, or that's not going to work, or yada, yada, yada. Stop asking for feedback. If you're someone that is asking for feedback, you need to make sure that you're in the position to be self-aware and take it as constructive, meaning that you're going to take whatever these people say, reel it in, identify what it is that you're going to do to help make these processes better. Some people are not ready for that just because of their personal stuff, their personality, their triggers, their viewpoints on things. But people and companies and businesses that are truly for change, that truly want to produce at an optimal level, they intentionally put quality controls, send out surveys. They do all types of things to get feedback to make sure that they are really servicing the customer the right way, as well as making sure that their employees have the support and resources that they need to be productive and to drive the company's results.
Man, that's what's up. And I'm gonna ask you this one too. Um, we hear management and we hear leadership. So, what is the difference between management and extreme leadership? What are the two different? I think some people may not know the difference, but what are the difference between management and leadership?
Yeah, so how I can best break that down is managing is like the administrative part of leadership. So you can have a manager that is really just by the book, black and white, just really want to drive the results. They could just criticize and they don't care about what you're doing. They just want you to get it right. They're not too interpersonal savvy. They're just very business oriented, and it might be their way or the highway. They're dealing with the HR issues. They're dealing with the timekeeping. They're just really dealing with that administrative aspect of managing the operations. Okay, very process driven, process oriented, which is very important to a certain extent. Okay, you want someone that is well versed in knowing how to operate your business. How I would compare that to being a leader, a true leader in the workplace, or in your community as a business owner, is being involved and interested in what and who your employees are and what they do on a day-to-day basis. Yes, you have your guidelines. Yes, you have your KPIs. Yes, you have your policies and procedures, but you don't take the humanity out of it. So rather than like from a manager, when something goes wrong and there's a policy in place where, okay, you go on a verbal or you have to be written up, they just go straight to the book. When there's an area of opportunity that arises within a team and you have an effective leader in place, that leader is going to first, before they go to the book, right, the black and white, they're going to go to the employee. They're going to be interested and curious about what happened that caused this area of opportunity. How are you feeling that day? Did anything happen that day that caused this risk? Are you needing training in certain areas to make you more competent in this situation? Or developing and coaching, being that coach for your team is part of being an effective leader. And there's still that accountability piece. And this is not just business. This is even like with your kids, with anybody that you work with, that you have an influence over. It's really just having the mindset to seek to understand, to identify those areas of opportunity, and actively and collaboratively with the team or with your children or with your spouse to build those building blocks that is creating win-win situations for all the parties involved.
Yeah, I know when you was talking. I think Google. I think that with their employees, they make work fun for their employees. They have different things for their employees. And I think at one time it was always number one. It made me think about what you was talking about with the leadership aspect. When individuals come working for your organization and they come working for your place of business, I know you want the morale to always be high. That's the most important
Morale
thing.
is key.
Make the morale high. Not say you let them do what they want to do, but you set it the tone where they enjoy coming to work, that they have fun at work. Because think about it, at the end of the day, 9 out of 10 people dread going to work. They dread going to work. The morale is down. But as you being a business owner or in a leadership position, you want to make sure the morale always high. Cause why? You always gonna get a 1,000% out of the people that you're with, people you're building a team with, and that's what the purpose of it is. Like, you want to have fun in doing what you're doing, and also it's gonna bring out their creativity. It's gonna bring out their work ethic when you have that up together. So the main thing about them, when I know they had already with Google, they had #1 top work environment for a very long time, and their employees enjoy coming to work.
These companies, they're being watched and they're being monitored, and there's certain, we all have our networks. Companies have their networks. They have certain things that they're trying to achieve. I forget what it's called, but my ex-husband, I remember when he got a new job and they got a new owner, they were transitioning to a new company name with new oversight. The first thing that they changed when they took over that company is, you guys don't have PTO. Not that they can't take time off, but what it is that you don't have a PTO bank, which means as long as there's not too many people taking off at the same time, you can take a day off. They don't need to know what is going on. There's just not that pressure of, if I'm sick, do I have to still go into work and possibly get other people sick? If my daughter or son has a football game or a doctor's appointment, do I need to, delay that and stay at work today? Or, there's just so many things that come up in life where we put work first, which is really detrimental to ourselves and also to our families and communities. And so they also, they just implemented certain things that really took the stress off. And as human beings, I mean, it's just like, oh, my job cares about me. When we start seeing that our employers and our jobs care about us, it stops being a job. It's just like, hey, I got to go run and do these hours for these quick 8-10 hours today. Like, that's part of my community. That's my network at work. And you just feel like when you get the buy-in and a leader is able to really purposefully and effectively portray and convey the bigger picture of the team and of the department and of the company, you really do get the best of the best, work ethic from your team. And, that's what I wanted to go back to. So these companies are being graded to be like B2 companies or something like that.
Right.
Like, these companies have so many things in place now that cater to the employee and the employee experience. There's a big thing on employee experience right now. And so, as a business owner, and if you plan on having multiple employees, this is one of the #1 things that you want to have in place. You want to be up to par with where these major companies are. One of the attorneys that is my attorney, that is part of my attorney network for my job, I didn't know she was on a podcast, and I actually watched her the other day, and she owns a law firm. She owns a law firm in California. She has an office here too in Texas. And let me tell you, I've been working in law for 7 years, me, myself. And it's kind of just like black and white. And you have people in place that kind of just get the culture. We're very black and white. We're very assertive. We're very short. There's not too much back and forth inquiry. We just have this get the job done mindset. But we have millennials coming in, and she had mentioned there's millennials coming in that really care about certain things, and you have to have morale even in these spaces where probably it wasn't a conversation before. So even this law firm had to build a team engagement team. They had to make sure that their employees were engaged, protected, had mental health resources. Make sure they have, a lot of people care about volunteering, making sure that they have volunteer days. I mean, we are in the age of Aquarius for humanity. We're thinking about the goodness of all. That's just where our society is. And, it's happening in different ways in different institutions and different processes, but morale is a big thing. And so if you are a business owner, if you are a leader, make sure that people are your thing. Don't be managing people and leading people just for the title. Really be curious about what it is to be an effective leader and how to positively impact the people that you're leading.
Yeah, that's important. At the end of the day, we all need each other, right? So we all need each other. So hey, let's win together, and that's what it's all about. And like I said, one win, we all win. So that's how it is. So the whole team win, the whole team shine. That's what it's all about. I know about ready to get off the air for a little bit. But Keisha, go ahead and plug in all the information you got going on, when the next event is, and what else, other projects that you got going on as well for the rest of this year.
Yep. So we are towards the end of the year. So we only have one merchant mix left for this year. So we are tentatively hosting the next Arlington merchant mix, hosted by myself. I am radio and collaborating with my new business partner, Mr. U, owner of Mr. U's Closet. So we are actually doing a Men's Day celebration. We put so much focus on women, women's empowerment, and yes, us women are wonderful, but we need to recognize our counterparts, the yin to our yang, and just making sure that we're celebrating that the men that we know and love in our life. So tentatively November 18th at Cherry Moon Grill and Bar, we will make sure that we get to celebrate and honor and recognize the men that are doing great things in our community. And then we are still in conversation in a proposal for me and Mr. U to start doing showcases. So for those of you that know, me and Como, the Golden Child, we actually did showcases early last year. It's been a while, so I am collabing to kind of just bring a new audience and crowd back to Arlington, really expound on that creative arts and performance piece in our community. So we are working on a few things. Definitely have a great year planned out next year for the Arlington Merchant Mix. We are just grateful. I can't say everything right now, but we are pushing it through. We're just continuing to show up. And to talk about team building, I know I have someone by my side that is beneficial, that is collaborative, that I don't have to over explain to. And I know he has a sense of integrity as well. So I'm very excited to collaborate with Mr. U and just see what we can do together and also in our own right.
And that's what's up right there. Like I said, keep up the great work, Keisha, which I know you is, and always keep helping out people, showcase what other people got going on. Because I know there's a lot of great people doing a lot of great things here in the
Yes.
city, in that metropolitan area. So to everyone who's doing a great job, I mean, y'all keep up the great work, keep doing what y'all doing, keep striving every day. So
Every
Keisha,
day.
you have any firearms on that's listening right now, and will go back and listen in the future.
I'm sorry, what was that? It had
Do you
cut
have
out.
any? Or do you have any final remarks that you want to leave with the listening audience?
Oh, I mean, just keep pushing. Whatever it is that you're out here doing, do not give up. Make sure, and I'm saying this to myself as well, make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you're going to get your checkups. Make sure you're going to get your teeth cleaned. Make sure you're taking your bubble baths. Make sure you're going to the chiropractor. Make sure you're taking yourself out dancing. Take yourself out on a date. Whatever it is, whatever it looks like to you, find out what it is that you love about yourself and, really hone in on loving on yourself, because we can only pour from a full cup. We can only pour from a full cup. So focus on yourself for a little bit and make sure that you can really just, the best way is to show up for yourself. That way you can show up for others. So that's my rant, as I always say. And just keep pushing. And if you do fail, that is just a learning mark. It's just an opportunity to go back and again, self-educate and go back to the drawing board. But y'all keep up the great work. Shout out to everyone that has been keeping I Am Radio and the Arlington Merchant Mix rolling. I really do appreciate all of you. And again, thank you, Furman, for having me on tonight. Make sure that you'll support Furman. He is very impactful in our community, and we really thank you for taking the time to allowing us to educate the community and also share the story behind our brands as well.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I said, I thank you, Keisha, as well, for you doing what you're doing. You being consistent. I'm constantly watching you on an ongoing basis. You never change. You never do these today. You always the same, and I respect that about you. I respect your work ethic, your drive, your hustle, because you stay consistent. When I love that about you. So keep doing what you're doing as well. We've got a comment section. Miss Jones, what's up, Miss Jones? Miss Jones comment says, she said, show up for self, therefore we can show up for others. I love it. She like what you said, Keisha. Big shout out to Miss Jones and stuff like that. So big shout out to her. Big shout out to everybody. Big shout out to Shayna King out of Mobile, my hometown. Big shout out to Sabrina Ford as well.
Yeah.
There's the comment section. Big shout out to Miss Woods as well. I don't want to forget y'all as well. Big shout out to everybody who's tuning in and watching as well. Those who are watching on Keisha's side as well. Big shout out to y'all also. Is watching. I do not want to forget y'all as well. Man, y'all keep doing what y'all doing. Remember, I gotta give a big shout out to Cedar Dean Williams. He says this: remember the graveyard. Everybody had one thing in common. They thought they were gonna see tomorrow, and they didn't. Remember, let's live life like it is our last. Most importantly, man, love yourself, respect yourself. Tell yourself I love you. Tell yourself I got your back. Tell yourself we're gonna succeed. Tell yourself we're gonna conquer. Tell yourself we're gonna make life happen. And most importantly, say always have each other's back. Have each other's back, but also have your back as well. So we got this thing. So that sums it up. I will be back here tomorrow night, same time here at 7 p.m. Man, y'all enjoy y'all Tuesday. Work on y'all goals. Y'all just have fun. Just enjoy the rest of the night. That's pretty much it. Have fun. Get you something to drink. If you do drink,
I'm gonna eat some Halloween Oreos and watch Practical Magic. That's what I'm doing tonight.
That sounds very peaceful. That sounds very relaxing. So man, y'all enjoy y'all evening. Just don't be so serious. It's okay to be serious, but don't take yourself so serious. Enjoy your night. It's still early. Enjoy your night. So, like I said, man, we'll be back. I'll be back here tomorrow night. Have a great day, everybody. Peace out.
Peace.